Okay, so before we do our deep dive into each center, we're going to kind of break it down into just a few categories, the different types of centers. So, like any circuitry, there's different parts that do different things. So, for example, in your car, in your motor, there's the engine, there's the transmission, there's the starter, there's the battery, there's the fan that cools the engine. There's all of these different parts that come together to make a whole and make the whole thing function. So, just like that, all of these different centers, all the shapes on the graph, they are each playing their own part. And if you want to pause the video right here and just check out the little keywords that are on each center, that gives you a very basic rundown of what each part is. And we're going to spend the rest of the session kind of going through those things in detail. So first up are the pressure centers. So this is where energy is generated in our circuitry. This is where pressure is generated, and the birthplace of stress. So there's two different kinds of stress there in pressure. There's the pressure to move, and there's the pressure to find out. And we're going to talk more about both of these in depth when we study the individual centers. There are 3 awareness centers. So this is where we're perceiving what's going on around us. Each of them operates differently. The spleen is our existential awareness. It's our survival awareness, our safety, our physical safety. Our ajna, that top one, is our mental awareness. And then on the right is our solar plexus, and that is our emotional awareness or our broader awareness, also our intuition, where that comes from. And awareness is driven by fear. So this is a really important point to keep in mind when we think about how these awareness centers operate. Fear drives our desire to pay attention. It is a very helpful survival instinct. So even though these awareness centers they are basically the home where our fears are camped out at, and that can run amok and that can get harmful and be in a low vibration where it hurts us to be carrying those fears. But the desire to pay attention and the desire to be aware and take in that information from your environment, it does protect us and the well-being of our physical vessel. Like I was reading on one of them, like in the times of the zombie apocalypse, you need your friend with a defined spleen who can, like, in a moment's notice, just knows how to survive, just like can immediately put the pieces of the puzzle together, like take in all the information around you, problem solve on the spot. It's like MacGyver. MacGyver probably had a defined spleen, I would guess. These are our survivalists. They know with instinctual accuracy what they need to do and when in order to protect their survival. So that is absolutely critical for the prolongment of the human race. So this is actually the oldest center, is that splenic center, that ability to protect our life. That is our most basic interior instinct that we have. And then you have our motor centers. So we have 4 motor centers, and these are the centers that actually create energy. Each of them creates a different kind of energy, and we're going to talk more about that when we get into each one. But just know that this is where energy is born in our system, the energy to actually be physical and get things done. The G center, or the identity center, is one of the centers for manifestation. And we're going to get really deep into both of those centers for manifestation. And it's also where our self-love comes from. Or if we're looking to build our self-love, that's a good place to start, is exploring the gates that are activated in our identity center. And then also it's where our life purpose comes from. So we're going to talk about what the ramifications are if you have that center defined versus open. Just like we're going to talk about that with all of them, but that one especially can be really hard before you master it, depending on how it works for you. The throat center is the manifestation center. So all of the energy in our entire system is working its way towards the throat. Like if you look at the body graph, everything about the circuitry is pointed in towards the throat, because that is how you manifest something. And just to give you a very basic idea of why that is, if you're willing to say, I want, and finish that sentence and say, I want this thing, say it out loud, the chances of it manifesting in your life skyrocket. Because if you're not willing to say it out loud, that probably means that you don't actually believe that you can have it. Like, you're not willing to say it out loud because by the time you get to the words part, you've already talked yourself out of, you don't deserve it. Maybe in the future I can have it after I, go back to school and I build up my resume. And once I get better, then maybe I can have it. But right now I can't really have it because I haven't done this and I haven't done this and I haven't done this. And the only reason that it's not manifesting is because of all that story you just told, talking yourself out of why you can't have it instead of just saying out loud, I want this. Our words are wishes. So when we say, I can't have it because I don't have enough experience, I don't have enough skills, I don't have this, that's the universe saying like, oh, okay, so you don't have that. You can't have that. Okay, got it. And when you say, I want this, the universe is like, okay, here it is. That's why the throat center is the place of manifestation. It's where all of our beingness gets to this place of like the words that come out of our mouths are such an expression of who we truly are in any moment of our lives. And the words that we speak, sometimes it's even the thoughts that you think, because that's where we're talking ourselves out of saying what we really want. Like, the universe feels all of that, and that is what is being responded to. So if you're telling a story about why you can't have all the things that you want, then that's what's manifesting around you. And if you're brave enough to say out loud, this is what my heart desires, this is what my intuition tells me I want to do, this is what I'm leaning towards, this is what I'm reaching for, I want this thing, pathways open so that you can have the thing. We can all have the thing, whatever we want. And we'll get into, whether you have a defined throat center or not, you can still manifest the life that you want. It doesn't, either way, again, it's just a matter of manifesting your unique energy. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do a deep dive, which is still a shallow little deep dive because there's only one slide per center. And that's where, again, this is intended to set you up with enough awareness that you can go and do your own research. And if you want help, email me, owningauthenticity@gmail.com, and I would be happy to provide pricing for a package of sessions. So before we do the deep dive, I want to add in this concept around open centers. And remember, that's when you're not generating energy there for yourself. That's when you have it white on your chart. When the center is colored in and defined, that means that you are generating energy there and you're sending it out around you. That's in your aura. And open centers, they're not generating energy. So instead, they're taking energy in from the environment and they amplify it. This amplification of energy is where the power and the brilliance of an open center comes from. It's the idea that no matter what energy you expose yourself to, you will make it more. So if you expose yourself to an environment of abundance and luxury and well-being and peaceful living and happiness and self-respect and respect and love for others and, being of service to others and being empowered in your authentic self and vocalizing your deepest desires, you're exposing yourself to that environment, you are making it more. Period. And the reason open centers can drive us crazy is because when we pick up a fear or we pick up a worrisome thought or we pick up the pressure that somebody else is feeling, that's where we're making that more as well. Those open centers are amplifying whatever energy you're exposing yourself to. And so that's a really empowering thing to understand because again, if you want the life that you want, chances are you probably need to point yourself on purpose towards putting yourself in an environment that you would like to become more like. Okay, so here we start with the head center, and we're just going to work our way down. On each of these slides, we'll talk about the function of that center and if it's open, kind of how to work through that. And then down at the very bottom, if you have the center defined, meaning if it's colored in on your chart, Google the channel that defines it for you. And if it's multiple channels that are defined between, then Google all of them. Like, for example, the head center only has 3 gates. And so that means there's only 3 channels that can activate the head center. I think only something like 30% of people have a defined head center. And so that means that if your head center is defined, colored in on your chart, you can Google one of these 3 or whichever multiple ones are activated, colored in on your chart, and understand for your defined energy, how is it that your energy flows? Because your defined head center is going to look very different depending on which of those 3 channels is activated for you, because each channel has its own personality. So that's what to do if it's defined. And I'm going to spend most of my time on these slides talking about what to do if it's open. Because open, like I said, it can be the source of madness. It can feel like taking in a million people's energies and having that bounce around your system and not knowing what to do about it. But it's also the source of our unique brilliance and the ways that we can truly transcend and master our personal energetic circuitry.